Welcome to Roofers, Contractors, and Business Professionals podcast. Today we have with us Tim Crouch from Gutter Growth, and he has the Gutter Summit as well.
How's it going, Julie? How you doing today?
Yeah, it is awesome out today. I'm over here in California. It's got like some sunshine and rainbows over here. Where are you based out of, Tim?
I'm in Florida and it's raining right now.
Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. So, is your gutter company, is your business based out of Florida then?
Gutter growth, yeah. Well, two of my partners are in Florida, and then one of my partners is in Texas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But the business that the gutter business that I sold, that was Florida based. That was in Palm Beach County, and I had that company for 10 years.
Wow. Wow. So, yeah, you're based out of Florida. You have a team member in Houston. Is it in Houston, Texas? Is that where you're based?
My partner's in Austin.
Austin. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you got some good fingers out for doing business.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Florida region, you got the Texas region. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for gutter growth, like the mastermind group, we have members pretty much nationwide. We got some in California, New York, pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, that is really powerful that you can help better companies in different locations, across multiple states. I have so many questions for you. Like me and Tim, we were actually chatting before this podcast. And Tim, you mentioned you had how many years experience do you have in gutter companies?
20 years in the industry.
20 years.
Hmm.
So what led you from, I'm assuming you started as a worker in the gutter company?
I was a personal trainer when I was 18, and I was running my own business. I was paying rent to the gym, and they had new management came in. When the new management came in, they didn't want independent contractors. They wanted employees, and I was
Mm.
pretty much booked like 40 clients a week. So I'm
Oh,
like, I'm
wow.
not going to do that because you're just going to take half my income.
Yeah, base pay, right?
Yeah, and then so at the time, all the other local gyms around me did the same thing. So I kind of didn't know how to pivot from that. And one of my clients was a gutter installer, and I just needed a job at the time. So I went ahead and I didn't know what gutters was, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you were like green around the neck when you came in, right?
Yeah. I was 18, and I seen these machines running. I'm like, whoa. I mean, I literally didn't know what a gutter was. It was crazy. But from that point on, I just started working. I started working with him and that company. I was there for 5 years, and that's kind of where I got, the base of the gutter industry.
Yeah, yeah. So I can imagine, yeah, with like personal training, just to give you the audience a background, imagine that you make 120 to $200 per session, and then someone comes in and says, "We're going to cut you to $20 an hour." Now imagine that coaching is really high level, a lot of energy. You're going to the gym, you literally have to meet up with each client at the gym. Now imagine someone says, "Okay, you're going to get $20 an hour per client." Now, what would be a 10-hour day at some other job, you're getting at your own subcontractor business.
Hmm.
And then each client that you're working with, it feels like an hourly rate for something that's extremely high level skill.
Correct.
Just for the audience to understand.
I wasn't going to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And you were working with this company, and then what was the edge? What was the edge, or what was the brink where you're like, you know what, it's time to start my own company? Like, what was the deciding factor in your head when you did that?
So kind of when I got into it, there were here in Florida, there was two hurricanes back to back, like 2 weeks apart from each other, and this happened like I'd say 3 or 4 months of me working at that company. So all of a sudden, they're like slammed on work. They got months and months of work, and that lasted for years. Um, but then
Wow.
it kind of led up to like the Great Recession, and
Mm-hmm.
it started slowing down. And I was making good money back then. I was making like in between $1,800 and $2,500 a week working for that company. It was really good money back then, and it was getting cut in half. Like I was starting to see like $900 checks, and the workload just wasn't there. So I started looking, and I found another company in Boca Raton, and I started working with him for a while. Me and him ended up being good friends, but he was really hard to work for. So I had to get out on my own. I started a marketing company for a short period of time. We did flyer distribution for like pizzerias, tanning places, all kinds, Culligan Water. So I had like a team of 7 guys, and they would distribute, the flyers or whatnot. And then eventually I got into graphic design and full color printing. But the gutter business was still a better business. It might not have been a better business. I mean, printing and everything's a good business, but I just knew gutters more, and I knew how to make money in gutters
That was your
more
skill
than I did
based.
advertisement at the time.
Yeah.
So I ended up starting a gutter company kind of at the same time and using the flyer distribution company to get me started.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow,
So
that is like that's a full transition. Personal trainer, gutter worker to flyer distributor, marketer, having that kind of company with a team of 7 to moving that into what graphic prints and design,
yes.
and then using that to support your gutter company. So it sounds like you made this massive loop all the way around to where you had the most skill sets.
Yeah, I did. And then, it was still, it was hard because it was the Great Recession. So there wasn't that much work. So it came to a point where I heard my grandfather moved to Tennessee, and he told me about a hailstorm they had. And then I just so happened, the guy that got me in the business moved to Tennessee as well. And I talked to him, and he's like, Tim, we're so busy over here. And so I had like $5,000 to my name at the time. And my gutter trailer needed tires and everything, and that costed $800. So I'm now like 42. And I just took off and went to Tennessee, kind of not knowing, I didn't have any work yet. And I just showed up there with my truck, and I went to Home Depot parking lot. And then while I was there, it was crazy. Like 3 or 4 contractors came up to me just because I had my trailer there. And so
it was like you were advertising for business just by having the trailer.
Yeah, they were dying for gutter guys. I mean, the whole town was demolished with baseball-sized hail.
Yeah.
So I did that, and within 6 months, I built it up to where I had 3 crews. And the thing about storm chasing, especially hail damage because it's so condensed. Like down here in Florida, if you get a hurricane, it's hitting pretty much a good part of the state. The hailstorms are pretty condensed, so within about 6 months to a year, there's really no work left. So I would go hit another storm. So I ended up doing that about 8 different states. And those 3 crews just kind of followed me state to state. I just got tired of being on the road. So I'm like, you know what? I got to come back. I got to build, because, you would do the work, but you're not really building anything. I was able to make money at these towns, but I wasn't established because the work would dry up and I would have to go somewhere else.
It wasn't consistent cash flow. It was like one-time sales. And then
Correct.
you weren't staying in one place. So you couldn't build your brand in that county.
Correct. So I ended up moving back to Florida, back to my hometown. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and build a gutter company. And that's what I did. And I did that for 10 years. We had about 12 to 14 employees when I exited. I sold the business. And yeah.
Wow.
Sold it last year. So it's a little over a year ago.
Wow. Congratulations. So that was not too long ago then.
Mm-hmm. And then directly after, we started Gutter Growth. So.
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions for you. One question that came to mind is in-house crews or sub crews? Which one do you prefer, and which would you coach someone else on?
I always did in-house crews. I got a couple of guys that are dead set on using subs, and I still coach them. They have pretty good models, but I always used employees.
Yeah. One thing I've found about sub crews is you find one that shows up and they do the work. It's amazing, but they're not always consistently going to be there for your company, and they might have different branding as well.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, you don't have as much control, and the branding's big. So I mean, I didn't really like that, so I kind of just stayed away from it. And then, what kind of equipment do they have? And it works for some guys. It's just I didn't particularly like it.
Yeah, I was curious because I've known like general contractors that have made their millions just using sub crews alone, but I'm in favor of in-house.
Yeah,
because you get a team, you build a family.
Exactly, and you get the culture.
Yeah,
you have more control over it.
Yeah, well, like think about setting your team culture. You said you had 3 crews for a bit, and then you had a team of 10 people total in that company.
So the company that I sold, I had like 4 crews when I sold it. There was times that I ran 5, so we were running between 4 and 5. That 5th crew though was more like a one-man band, and that guy would do like all my repairs, all my clean outs, all my underground drainage. He would do that type of stuff, and then I had some 3-man and 2-man crews on other trucks.
Wow. Wow. And like as a leader, as a company owner, what was the biggest lesson building your teams and like putting your whole company together? Like what were some of the big like aha moments for you?
So many lessons. Where do I begin? I mean,
Well, pick a couple that sound good. Where we're tough, you know?
I guess when I started, I had that technician mindset. So like the first couple years, it was, when I was on the road, I'm not to say that I didn't care, but it was storm work. So it was
Yeah,
easier
you're
for me to
storm chasing.
bring guys in, and I had good crews, but for some reason it was easier. But when I came back and I was building my brand here locally, I started off doing it by doing all the installs. And so I had like 2 years of that, and just breaking that technician mindset of, I didn't want anyone to touch anything. So I was perfection. So it's like, even my helpers, I was holding them back. And
yeah.
it took me like breaking that mindset to where, I started to trust them and be able to build a team and, scale. And you can't really do that with a technician mindset.
I love that. So is a technician different than an operator for you?
I think so. I mean, I think operators that have technician background might end up being better operators, but they have to break that mental block.
Yeah, because I've met some contractors that are like attention to detail too much, and they have trouble hiring people, they have trouble keeping people, because the number one thing that happens is people don't want to be nitpicked and people want to excel.
Right. And then there's a way to get people, to do quality work and get them to improve and help them grow. So that was another thing, just kind of learning, how to culture build. I had a pretty good culture.
Yeah. So that would be like team training. Like, did you have meetings once a week? Like, what was one thing that really like united your team and like kept everyone under the same flag for your company?
I mean, we had meetings, but I think the number one thing is actually caring about your people.
Oh my God. Say that again for the audience.
You got to care about your people. If you don't care, they're going to feel that. If you care, they're going to care.
Truth bomb. Seriously. It's not about the money. It is, but it isn't.
Correct.
Oh my gosh. We could talk about that. We could just talk about that one sentence, and that applies to every aspect of your business.
If you have to replace an employee, I don't know. They put numbers out there. They say you lose like $200,000 every time you get to, replace somebody and retrain them. You lose so much traction. So if you could find good talent and actually keep the talent, you're definitely going to build. It's easier to scale because you're not losing people. You're not always having to replace people. You're just building on top of it.
Yeah, it's like a sustainable business growth model, because imagine that. Yeah, if you're just going through the hiring cycle and you're not keeping people, I mean, imagine like some of the people I've helped hire into companies are superstars. Like they could do HR, they could do interviewing, they could do social media management, they could do sales, they could do bookkeeping. Like you're talking about someone that could do 3 to 4 people. So like those are the kind of people you want to keep in your company so you can have that growth that you're talking about.
So I'm not saying I didn't lose people and have to replace them, but I didn't really on my main people. I really didn't. So like, I only had the whole 10 years. I only had 3 different admins in place, and the last one I had was there for 6 years. And it's not like I hired a million sales guys. I had the same 3 sales guys for the majority of that time too.
And they did perfect, right?
They did perfect. So when people ask me, well, how do you hire sales guys? I don't know. I had the same sales guys for 3 years. But when you find that person, you got to treat them right.
Yeah. I got another loaded question. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Well, commission and base pay or commission only? And what was your layout for that?
So commission, I would do percentage. The way that I like to do it, I think the legal way to do it is to have like a small hourly pay.
Mm-hmm.
and then but have a commission. So whether it's 20% of the ticket price or depending on the industry, where you're going to be at. But the gutter industry, it's about 18 to 23% is what you'll pay a truck on the total ticket price. So if you have a small hourly, you just subtract the hourly from that percentage and the rest is paid as a bonus. Because if you don't do it that way and you just pay them percentage and they get overtime, now you're paying overtime on the whole percentage. So if it ends up $50 an hour, now it's, $75 an hour on those.
That makes sense. And then the hourly is kind of like, okay, let's say that they weren't able to make a sale that week. They're still getting paid, but they're still doing their job as well.
Yeah, if they didn't produce, but I mean that never happens. I mean, because you're not one to put it so high. You want it to be respectable, But
yeah. What were some of the sales targets you would set for each person on your team? I'm just asking these questions, and it's awesome for the audience as well.
So let's see. So there was 2 sales guys. As far as sales goes, I had 2 sales guys, and then I did sales. I only did like the high end sales, so I wasn't going to every single estimate. I was only doing like copper estimates or commercial.
So the high contracts.
Yeah. I had like a 90% closing ratio on copper. So we got really big into the copper part of the gutter industry and like the custom work. I would say, we were doing, I was doing like $2 million a year. So I don't know, what is that a month? I don't know. I was probably selling 40,000 of it myself. And then the rest was my 2 salesmen.
That's solid.
Mm-hmm.
That's solid. Yeah, I think also it depends on how many leads are coming in too, and if they're having to self-generate, whether the leads are coming in through the marketing campaigns too.
So I'd like to give them between 5 to 7 estimates a day. I didn't really feel they could handle more than that. We did about 65 to 75 estimates a week.
That's solid.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, yeah, it's harder in the gutter industry. It's not it's a decent ticket price, but it's not roofing. It's not,
Yeah, it's not, you're not looking at a 30-40% profit margin on a commercial roof.
So
that's 2 acres.
The self-producing doesn't work as much. You're not going to get a gutter guy to go. I mean, maybe you will, but I don't think so. You're not going to get a gutter guy to knock on doors and then actually have 5 or 7 real estimates out of it. Mm-hmm. So you definitely are going to do better off by providing leads, in my opinion.
That makes sense.
I did give a higher percentage if they, close their own leads, and it happened. Like one of my salesmen also sold roofs for another company, so he would end up producing on his own, and I'd give him a few more percentage on that.
Yeah. Well, I think what's cool is if you can encourage referrals in your company, right, and be like, hey, by the way, here's the leads for the company coming in, and if you know of anyone, you still get commission and you can bring that in as a sale. I love that.
My crews, I would give them a sales commission if they sold the neighbor or if they got a job for us. So, I mean, it's also good to incentivize your crews because they could also bring in work for you.
Yeah.
If you don't set it up that way, all they're going to do is, oh, here's a business card. And then the person loses it and they don't call you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, I learned this at a networking event at the Grant Cardone community, but if you hand someone a business card, you want to make sure that you text them a photo of you guys together. Now you got a photo and a number.
I like that.
But having all your guys do that, I mean, I think a business is circular, right? Like money flows in a circular direction. So if you can have your whole team benefiting, like that's amazing. Like I think that's where the basis of helping everyone on your team comes down to.
Mm-hmm. I mean, having the performance pay, I mean, you're giving your guys a chance to improve themselves and to make more money, and they're not stuck in a certain spot. So the more that they improve, the more that they dial in and get their guys, producing, they're getting rewarded for it. Yeah,
that is, I love that you said that because I know a lot of companies that don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So you were an edge above, I'm just going to put it, you were an edge above the rest.
Yeah, thank you.
But by how much you cared and what you implemented from your company and with your team. I love it. Freaking love that, Tim. Goodness, so many more questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So I noticed that a lot of companies have trouble firing.
Firing.
Yeah. Did you ever have a situation where someone was just not a good fit? And then what was how long did you wait before saying, okay, the results aren't coming in? I've done all the training. I've done all the help that I can to help them succeed in the company, and it's not working.
I didn't do a lot of firing. But when I did, it was like something like theft, like, you know, I had guys that it happens. You're in the construction industry. So you might have a guy that, you hire him and he's straight, he's sober, and then he goes off to the left and now he's got a problem. And so I had to fire a couple times for that reason, maybe like 3.
So they would have they'd be clean, sober, they'd come into work, and then something would happen.
It could be 2 years later. Like I had one guy working for me for 2 years. Like he was my best guy, and he was really, really producing all the time. But then all of a sudden, I started noticing material missing, and it took me a month to catch on to it because I trusted him so much.
Yeah.
And something happened in his personal life where he started using, and I didn't meet him that way. That's not how I hired him, and so I had to end up letting him go. So it happens, but I can't say that I did a lot of firing.
Well, that's good. That means you're really good at hiring. Like that's one thing is if you have to fire a lot, that means that you probably weren't hiring right in the beginning, and or it's a team culture issue. So that's good that you didn't have to fire too often. But yeah, I was curious about that because some people really hold off on that for way too long when someone needs to go.
And, I've done that before. It's not like I've been guilty of that before. You have.
I know. I think a lot of us have.
So it's happened, and sometimes it's better to do it right away because if you don't, and people start, your other employees see that you're getting disrespected or whatever, they're going to lose respect for you if you don't cut
Yeah, I love that. That's so crucial because that's affecting your team. It's the one bad apple thing.
Yeah, it's like, why are you letting this guy get away with this? And so it's just, or they might start trying to push the envelope because someone else is, and that guy is training your guys how to behave. If you're allowing that.
Yeah, that is radical self-ownership and self-radical responsibility on the owner. Because if your team is going, it's just like keeping things in check and holding the energy and holding the standards like all the time, right?
I'm in the middle of reading that book, Extreme Ownership.
Ooh.
And one of the quotes that he has in there is, "There is no bad teams. There's only bad leaders."
That's the truth. It's a hard truth, but that's the bitter medicine right there.
Or pill to swallow.
Like, yeah, if your team's underperforming, you can't blame others first. Like external blaming does not get your company anywhere.
No. You got to look at yourself in the mirror. What are you allowing?
That one. That's the difference between keeping someone on that probably should be going and then having an amazing team and having everyone crisp, sharp, high standards, everyone working on the same mission.
Absolutely.
That was a good combo. Yeah, one question was, tell me more about your Gutter Growth Coaching. Is it Gutter Growth Coaching? How do you pronounce, what's the title?
Gutter Growth is the business name. We have a mastermind group. Basically, we do one Zoom meeting a week. It's me and Grant are the main coaches, but we have 3 other mentors. So between all of us, we kind of are pretty well-rounded in skills. Grant's been in the industry for 25 years. I've been in maybe 8 or 9 different states. He's worked in 40 states, so he's got a good idea of the whole region. The whole region of the United States. And then we have Corey J. He's running 6 gutter companies or doing somewhere between 13, 15 million. And we got Chris Dabrowski. He's a sales expert. So some of these guys, they just need to get their their closing ratio up. They might have a 30% closing ratio, and it should really be 50, 60. So a lot of the guys are improving that through Chris. And we also have Tina Hart. She's like an admin expert. So she's running a company doing like 4 million a year. And she's just kind of built all the systems out. So between all of us, we got them covered.
Wow. And I have so much to say about the wisdom and expertise compounded with your team. So like if a client has a question, any one of your team could answer it, depending on who is best suited to answer it as well.
And even some of the members, I mean, we got members doing in between 400 grand a year on the low end, and we got my top guys doing 4 million. So even the members contribute, and that's what's good about a mastermind group is you got the whole community. Yeah,
it's like a team. It's the same thing. I freaking love it.
For each other,
Yeah, I actually do some group coaching as a subcontractor, and one thing I love is when the members contribute to each other, and they pick each other up. It's just like, I don't know, there's just so much more fire that happens, so much more transformation that happens in a group.
I mean, we've had guys go to each other's shops and do shop tours and help each other like behind the scenes. So, they have all 5 of us mentors, but they have a whole community when they sign up to Gutter Growth.
I love that. I love that so much. And I can tell you're really diligent. You care about people. Number one, most important in business is do you care or not? And you have the results to speak for themselves. And I don't know, that just gets me excited. I love seeing people in the industry that are helping other people get better, like better businesses, better teams, better sales, and really have an idea of where to go with their companies.
And the gutter industry has really been lacking that. And, I've been watching the past couple of years, I've been seeing it in the roofing industry. There's coaches and mastermind groups and resources for people to learn. And even more so like in the HVAC and even the pressure cleaning industry has it. Christmas.
Yeah. You're the first gutter coach I've met.
Yeah, they just
like online. Like I've seen contractor coaches, I've seen metal roof I've seen really, really specific niches, and you're the first one in gutter. And that's why I was like, oh my gosh, we need to have them on. We need to promote you. We need more people that like can coach gutter, like people in their gutter industries.
I agree.
I love it. Oh my gosh. What is one thing you want to tell people that are looking for help in their business and they have a gutter company? Like, what are some things you would want to say to them to help them move up or implement in some kind of fashion?
The thing that sticks out to me most is, the reason why people don't know how to make decisions in their business is because they don't really know the numbers in their business. It's like, I would say 65% of the gutter industry is maybe a man in a truck, and they have that technician mindset. And for them to grow, they just don't really understand the marketing aspect of it and the key numbers that they need to know. Like they need to know how much an estimate costs them. How much does it cost you to get in front of a customer? What's your closing ratio? And then out of your closing ratio, how much does the job cost you? How much does it cost you to get a job? And then, if you know that and what your average ticket price is, you're not going to be afraid to start throwing money at marketing because you're going to know what's costing you. And you're going to know that every time I spend $150 or whatever it is it costs you to get that job, $200, every time I spend that, I'm bringing in $3,000. And in that $3,000, I have profit. So I call it the boomerang. Like you got your marketing money, you throw it out there, but this is the only boomerang that comes back fatter. Most boomerangs come back. This one comes back and you're making, it's coming back bigger.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Question for you. What's the, like in the gutter community or maybe just in businesses you've seen, what's the worst investment people have made instead of advertising or marketing?
I mean, I've seen people, buy equipment that they don't need yet and that type of thing. Like, I don't know.
So like 40 grand on equipment that they're not using yet because they want to plan for the future.
Yeah. And you don't have the resources yet for it. I don't know. I've seen so many mistakes. I think the biggest mistake is just not having a good culture. I think if you have a good culture, it's going to grow on its own because now you can bring in people with talent. It's not just you doing everything. You could bring in people smarter than you. Like say if it's, I can't sit there and do admin work all day. Like that would drive me nuts. Answering the phone, I can't do it.
And it's kind of below your pay grade as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, if you build a good culture and you start bringing in talent, and you start trusting people, you're not the only one that could do it. I mean, I know that we like to wear all hats, but
Yes, we like to be the technician and the operator.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I freaking love that because yeah, I don't know. Like what is up with trusting other people? I think a lot of people have been gotten burned in the industry, bad business partnerships, sales manager, going behind their back and selling to all the clients. Like do you do any like mindset coaching in your group on trust and that kind of thing?
We do some mindset coaching. Corey J just ran actually one of the classes was imposter syndrome. So most of us suffer with that. I've suffered with that before. I think almost everybody does. And
Yeah, it hits randomly.
yeah. So if you don't, if you don't break that, that's going to hold you back. Because you'll start to get ahead, and if you don't see yourself differently, you're going to go right back to where you were.
That is true. That is really true. So like someone like could be doing coaching with you. They bring on a team of 6. They're doing really well, but their mindset or their identity is way back at last year, right? When they weren't making that much money, maybe.
Correct. And then they might start self-sabotaging. So mindset to me is like 80% of success.
It is.
Maybe more. Maybe it's 90.
I feel like it's more like 90. Oh my gosh. It's because it's like everything you think of, how you perceive the world, how you think about the world, how you think about your team, like your brain.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes just having like a perspective change will change everything.
Yeah.
You're seeing things that you didn't see before just by opening your mind to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like when you're in it and you're maybe spending 10 or 14-hour days in the job, on the job, like in the business, like you don't necessarily always have a chance to step out into the bird's eye view unless you're like invited into that space.
Yeah, because you're just kind of stuck and seeing what
You're
you're
like
seeing.
horse blinders, like.
I was just looking at a post that I had that was on my time hop, and it was like, is that what they call it? Yeah, the memories. They call it memories now. And it was like 14 years ago, and I was like, today's a 16-hour day,
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I mean, but when you're doing that, you're definitely not working on the business. You're just in the day-to-day activities, and it's kind of hard to scale if you don't get out of that spot. When I sold the business, I was personally done with most of my stuff by 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. And then I had the rest of the afternoon. It's not like I didn't have to answer the phone or anything, but I was able to look at the business from above.
Wow. So would you consider that company that you ran close to self-running, like fully maybe not fully automated, but self-running to a degree?
Yeah, no, it was. I don't like. I think isolation's bad. So I didn't isolate myself from the company. I was there every morning to greet my guys, to help get them out the shop, and to talk and the banter. That's part of like building the culture, I think. But after they left, I had my office manager. She was answering the phone. She was handling everything. I had my sales guys. It's not like I was doing copper quotes every day of the week. That's just, you're not going to do that with stuff. So my work was pretty minimal. I would say that it was running on its own.
Wow. That is really awesome. I know a lot of people in the audience are wanting that for their business as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's doable.
Yeah. Would you say, did you put some effort into systems and back end email, like getting that set up for your team and workflows, or do you have anything you want to add to that section of the business?
Yeah, like when I first, the best hire I ever made was my first admin, where I have him answering the phone and doing everything. And honestly, she built the systems, not me. Like the office, I improved on them, but she pretty much built the systems. So you can't be afraid to bring someone in that can do those things for you. If you don't know how to build all the systems and the admin side of it, hire someone that does. And, that's going to solve your problems. You don't have to know everything.
Yeah. No, I really love that because there's a lot of really skilled office managers that have run businesses that have seen the back end of office systems and processes. So that is, you landed a gold mine with that hire.
Yeah, I did.
That's awesome.
And then, you start to see like people overcomplicate systems. Like I think they just make it too complicated because they're just thinking like SOPs. I got to have all these systems. Which is true. But to me, it's like when you see something that's going wrong, you build a system around that to eliminate it. So it could be just something simple that you change, and now that's your new system, and then put it on paper.
Yeah, like for example, if someone forgets to send an invoice out, okay, you create an SOP or a checklist so that doesn't happen.
I was just consulting one of my guys the other day in my group, and he's on a Zoom call with me, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And he was just driving back from bringing his guys end caps because this guy forgot end caps. Like, you guys shouldn't forget end caps. Like, so he put a system in place, and now he has a checklist, and they can't leave the shop now without signing off on that checklist and handing it to him. And so, like, now he won't have that problem, and it was because he had a problem. You got to think, if you keep having a problem over and over and over again, step back, look at it, and say, what can I do to eliminate this so it never happens again? And in his case, it was a checklist, and they have to sign off on that. They're not leaving now unless everything's in the truck.
I love the simplicity of that because it really does come down to problem solving. And also, like, you see business coaches or like programs where they're selling all the SOPs. It's like a package. But like not all those SOPs are applicable to your business or your problem solving at that moment.
Right. They're just selling you everything. And then you have all this stuff and it's overwhelming.
Yes. Yes. I love how you broke it down. It's like, okay, how do we make sure that our team shows up on shift on time, for example? Or how do we make it simpler to track the hours? Or how do we make it simpler so I know which team of 10 out of my 10 teams is on which job and whether that's job's completed or not and whether that can open up the schedule again? Like, I don't know. Like, that'd be a higher quality problem, right?
Right. And then as you're scaling, you're creating new problems that you didn't have before. So
you should have higher quality problems, right?
Right. So the problems aren't going to stop. I mean, to me, it's like you get chaos. Okay, let's get control of it. Let's smooth it back out. But now we're growing and chaos is going to happen again. And when it happens again, let's build some systems around it, smooth it back out. And it's a never ending process as long as you want to keep growing.
Yeah, especially if you don't have if you're not planning to exit or sell the business or just keep it the same size once it's fully running, then you're like, it's kind of like, you're doing a ship rebuild and you're upgrading your ship, you're adding new sails, you're adding new stuff. And then you take it out to sea. You're like, okay, this is not working. Let's change that.
Right.
I love that analogy. Yeah. I think the complexity and overthinking and thinking it's some kind of like archaeology book.
Yeah.
Is where people get lost.
And I think that's why, like, I'm not against college or anything, but I know that people get business degrees. Only 20% of them ever become entrepreneurs. And
yes.
That's because they're focusing on all this stuff and,
Yeah, I mean, good test takers don't always mean that they're going to be a good business owner or have that entrepreneurial mindset. I think test taking, I don't know. I feel like it lowers your IQ on some level because you're training to not see problems. You're training to solve problems that are on a list.
That, and I just think they overcomplicate it because it's like you got years of college to teach you all this stuff. Let's make it as complicated as can, teach you a bunch of memorization, but it doesn't have to be that hard. Like literally you just got to solve the problems as they come up.
I love that. Yeah. If business owners simply implemented that one piece of advice you gave today, I think they would be making more cash flow and they'd hire a good team.
I agree.
I mean, that advice alone, solve the problems as they come up and make sure to solve them.
Yeah.
And don't leave them on the back of your mind. Don't leave them on the back of your mind, on the back burner, stressing you out when you end the day, when you end the work day.
Yep.
Question. I know we're shifting gears a little bit, but The Gutter Summit. Tell me all the stuff about the Gutter Summit, because I'm also going to promote it through my pages as well. And this is coming up very, very shortly.
So the Gutter Summit is October 9th, 10th, and 11th. It's in Atlanta. It's at the Georgian Hotel. Really cool place. It was built in 1911. It's got that historical feel. It used to be a condominium. So the rooms are really nice. You don't need to get an Airbnb if you need 2 or 3 rooms, because they have 2 and 3 rooms and they have full kitchens. So it's a really cool place. It's not, sometimes you go to a convention and it's huge and it takes you 15 minutes just to walk anywhere, and you have, 10 other conventions going on at the same time. This place is not going to be that. It's going to be more intimate. We're going to have about 250 attendees. We got breakout, we're going to have breakouts. We got speakers, but we're also going to have a lot of hands-on stuff. So if you're not in the gutter industry, say you're in the roofing industry and you want to start branching into gutters, you could come here and actually learn how to install gutters. We have a basic level installation class, and we're going to have an advanced class. But we're pretty much got everything covered. We got marketing, you name it, sales. I mean, we're going to have a breakout that's going to be educational. If there's certain things you need to learn, pick those classes.
Wow. So like, it's not just an event. Like, you guys literally have like workshops during the day, and then it's not just business. Like, there's also installation training. I freaking love this already. Like, I'm not in the gutter industry, but that's freaking fantastic.
So the VIP package, we got 2 packages. The VIP package will include more of the hands-on stuff. There's a company that we partnered with called Spectra Metals. They're the largest gutter distributor in the United States. That VIP package, we're actually going to take you on a tour to tour Spectra headquarters. And I was in the gutter industry for 20 years. I had no idea how the manufacturing part of it worked until last year when I toured their facility. And, gutter coils, like 400 or 500 pound coils, but I didn't know that it was like it came on a 13 to 15,000 pound master coil that was huge. And so you could sit there, you could go there and see how they break that down, how they cut it down, how they paint it, how they produce all the downspouts, all the accessories. So that's really cool just to see. While we're there, we're going to do the hands-on training at their facility. And we'll actually train you how to hand cut miters and a number of other things.
Oh my goodness. That I would even go to that. I'm not even doing gutters, cool. But that's the manufacturing process. That you're like getting to see the back end of how the stuff that you install on people's houses actually like gets put together. That's phenomenal.
And there's so many industries that, the roofing industry, definitely. I mean, they sell gutters. I mean, normally they'll sub it out, but
yeah, it could be like siding and gutters and windows, are secondary offers to the roofing.
Mm-hmm. Or if you're in the pressure cleaning business and you want to upgrade to a better industry that makes a little bit more money, you can come over and learn how to do that.
Yeah. Wow.
And then the networking is huge too. So like that VIP package, the place is really cool. They have a speakeasy inside the facility at the Georgian Hotel. So we'll have like whiskey tasting, cigar rolling for the networking on the second night for the VIP, and then you have all the food and all the networking. So it's just going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to make sure it's the best event ever.
You guys you're going to 10X it.
Yeah, we're going to 10X it.
I'm just making a joke, but no, I mean, like, that's amazing because, I don't know, like the effort and energy it takes to put on an event, people have no idea. People have no idea the amount of energy it takes, and the fact that you have this event, you've put together the trainings, you put together the workshops. Like, this is like a no-brainer for someone that has a gutter business and is, maybe a state or a couple states away from Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, this is amazing. So you already talked about the group coaching as well. What's the best way people can contact you? Is it Facebook? Like, where would you love to send people for the events and information?
So as far as going to the Gutter Summit, you could go to guttersummit.com, and we do have payment plans. So, if it's something that you want to get into, but you don't have the money for right now, we got 3 simple payments that could help out. But yeah, or you could DM me, Tim Crouch. I answer everybody. So you can either do that. As far as the Gutter Growth Mastermind, if you're interested in getting the mastermind group, you can go to guttergrowth.com and schedule a call with me.
Yeah, we'll make sure to put the links in the subscription as well.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. Tim, any last words for the audience that you want to impart wisdom with?
The past year, I've been to like 8 events. Some of them are better than others. If you haven't been to events, go, because even the ones that were my least favorite, there's never been an event that I've went to that I have not gotten something from, and that I have not made money, contacts, and learned from. So I mean, if that's not something you do, definitely start going to events, because just the networking alone, you meet people and you start to talk and you hear some of their perspectives, and now you have new perspectives, and you could take that and apply it. And you want to have, that's why it's gutter growth, because you got to have a growth mindset.
Yes, mindset.
Yes, mindset.
All about the mindset. So if you guys enjoyed this podcast, you want to have Tim on again, love the information, hit a comment below, tell us what you liked about the podcast, and reach out to Tim. He's absolutely amazing. I 100% support what he's doing, and amazing conversation with you, Tim. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thanks for having me, Julie.
Yeah, absolutely.